We joined on the line now by the South African Aviation Authority spokesperson, Phindiwe Gwebu, and she is, of course, joining us via Zoom, rather. Thanks so much for your time this morning, Ms. Gwebu. Welcome to Morning Live once more. So this was a rather quick turnaround. We spoke to you 2 days ago, and now we have these latest developments. If you could just bring us up to speed as to how the turnaround came about.
It actually is a result of hard work that took place between the CAA inspectorate team as well as the Comair team. Sakina, you won't believe me when I say that these guys worked throughout. Literally, they were not sleeping and literally having 2-3 hour sleeps because as the airlines were submitting their evidence as required by civil aviation regulations, the CAA inspectorate team stood ready to evaluate that. And really, this was done in the interest of making sure that the airline is able to go back to the skies as soon as possible. We do realize the inconvenience this has caused customers, because we received a flurry of queries from customers at the CAA, even though we don't necessarily deal directly with customers. So it was really a very engaging process, which ended up with the airline actually expressing their gratitude to the CAA, the inspectorate team, as they took them through the processes in terms of what is required, in terms of them ensuring that when they encounter any incident, they are able to go down to the root causes of that incident, because that's the only way they are going to know whether their next flight is going to result in a safe landing. And it will avoid, obviously, the many occurrences that we saw playing out in the past month from both these airlines.
There have, of course, been, Ms. Gwebu, some criticism of the way that the Civil Aviation Authority dealt with this matter. There was, of course, a school of thought that believed that it wasn't necessary to ground the entire fleet, but perhaps just look into what was problematic. What is your response to that sort of thinking?
It's very simple, Sakina, because if the airlines experience incidences all the time, actually, and Comair was no different. And this is the reason why when the first incident happened, the CAA didn't come knocking on Comair's doors. But when these incidences happened in close proximity, clearly there was a sign that there was something wrong. And as we would have it now, we have got a very clear picture that the airline was actually now not diligent in making sure that they analyze all of these occurrences that are happening. And as a result, you'll remember that there's 2 flights that took out from Lanseria to Cape Town. And both those flights had an incident on the same side of the aircraft with an engine in the same side. Coincidentally, that flight happened on the same day of the week as well. And there were certain commonalities that came out after the team went in and investigated what the problem could be. But this is the reason why it is important then for each time an airline experiences these incidents, for them to make sure that they look into the problem so that they don't experience the same, and they avert rather even the possibilities of a similar incident happening. And so there was really value in taking them through this process. It was rigorous, I can promise you that. And there were days where I believe that the spirits were very high, but it was important and we really appreciate the airline sticking with the cause and making sure that we're able to find commonality in this. This we hope as the CAA, that the airline is going to now ensure that they take these lessons into the future, and they will avert any catastrophic incidences happening on South African soil.
So, Ms. Gwebu, what exactly was wrong and how was it fixed? And also, how's this different to what we've seen previously with other airlines that were grounded for months on end?
The CAA grounds operations or approvals for various reasons. You would remember that in the past couple of years, we would have grounded aircraft specifically. And that would be because there would be certain civil aviation requirements in terms of the maintenance schedule of the aircraft that would not have been done according to according to the civil aviation regulations. So there's various reasons, and they are not necessarily all the same. In relation to Comair this time, we were looking specifically at the operations. When we look at the operations, we look at also the capacitation of the airline in terms of the required skills within the airline. You would remember, Sakina, that most of the airlines are coming back from a very bad period of COVID-19. And so normally when airlines struggle financially, we know that they will downsize. We know that they will also, other safety-related issues will start to suffer as a result of that. And this is the reason why we're asking all the airlines, in fact, to make sure that their safety management systems work, and that when they look at change management, especially in relation to technical skills that are overseeing these aircrafts that are taking hundreds of people to the skies, they make sure that they do not cut corners when it comes to that, because this is where we're going to see quite huge accidents happening, which is something that in South Africa we haven't seen in a very, very long time. So it is really individual cases that we are looking in terms of their own merits. And it doesn't necessarily mean that when one airline is grounded for a week, the other one will not be grounded for a longer period. It also depends on the commitment of the airlines when we engage them. You'll also remember, Sakina, that in previous incidences, there would have been airlines who would abandon the CAA process and go to the courts. That only prolongs the process, because as long as we do not have assurance that the airlines are operating safely, we have an obligation in terms of our mandate to make sure that we do not allow that operator to operate. And so there are various reasons that will contribute to the duration of the time that an airline would be on the ground.
Well, thanks so much for that update. And that was the South African Civil Rights, the South African Civil Aviation Authority spokesperson, Phindiwe Gwebu.